All right, folks, we've recovered. Same day, Friday, the whatever. I think it's the second Friday in March, whatever day that is, the 9th or the 10th or something. Anyway, back to the plans for downtown Marysville. So this is C Street, old Chinatown, and this is primed to be revitalized. You know, we've got a American Chinese museum ran by the Tom family, descendants of original Chinese settlers that you see a lot of them in pictures. That's the Tom family, dating back to our early history. And they've done a great job here, you know. And they're putting a lot of time into it. GT, who's had many successes, has an open air China, old school, historical Chinatown market here. I plan on getting a booth and selling some things I'll make some videos of, showing they work cheap, folks. I just got to downsize. Clutter drives me nuts, and we downsized when we moved down here. So anyway, the thing that I believe should be down here is, here's more buildings. They've got apartments up here. This is Whatnot. It is Councilman Gillicrest, hopefully soon Marysville Supervisor Gillicrest's building, and he has a little store down here with good decorations and stuff like that, because that's what he used to do. He's a very successful business owner, grew up here, family history, and he came home. The prodigal son returned and made good, you know, with the family, and he's helping out, and basically he's pretty much the only one who's truly successful business owner of the past that sits on the current council, which tells you a lot about our problems here. And you know, I hope we make him supervisor. So anyway, back to improving Marysville. So not only do we have more buildings here where they could, you know, do light renovations to get them ready to rent, painting, stuff like that, as long as they made a minimum, you know, spec requirement. The water runs, the water drains, the electrical goes on with no funny burning smells. So that would be ideal. See, there's more above building apartments that there could be. So the other thing that you could do is, when you're renting out these buildings, is say they have, I don't know, let's say 3 or more units, because we don't want to saturate things and make the homing problem worse. So if said owners down here had 3 or more units above their building to rent, I think the city could also use the charter, and should, to allow them to have one of those facilities. So they rent 2 to the people who live around here, right, or want to live around here. That right there, here on 2nd and C, is where I think they should put the 3rd dispensary, because they're going to need it for this part, especially since the current 2 are both owned by Perfect Union. Wild Seed is a subsidiary, and there's always at least 5 or 8 people in line before you can even get your order taken care of. So there's definitely a need for it. So what you do is with the buildings down here that have 3 or more units upstairs, like that hotel I showed you with the cute awnings, for example, what you do is you allow them to rent out 1 for every 3 units they have on Airbnb and bed and breakfast. Now, for those of you who don't know what a bed and breakfast is, you basically run it like an Airbnb. There's even sites that are like Airbnb for it. And what you do is you charge even more than what a hotel room normally would cost, or a bed and breakfast, or whatever you're renting, whatever kind of dwelling, right? And you give them some free cannabis, maybe edibles, maybe a little flower. And because you're giving away the cannabis as a gift, it's basically a way where you create sales tax from them buying it at local dispensaries when they're here. Maybe they want more than what you got, or, you know, they came from California to do something here, especially with that convention center getting built on the B Street debacle property, and they buy more. Also, because you're giving it away, which is legal under California law to give cannabis away, you're basically not charging for it. So you're taxed whatever the regular tax and fees would be for running a hostel or bed and breakfast or whatever you want to call it. And that's going to bring cannabis tourism, and it's also going to bring other tourism to us, because we're going to have people up here. Maybe they're with the motorcycle people down at some of our tracks. You know, you've got E Street MX owned by Scott Davis, who's done good stuff with this town. You know, at one point he had both tracks until the city screwed him over on the one below the 10th Street Bridge, and I hear they're fixing that one up now. So, you know, you get a little tourism coming in. You're filling up empty spaces, saving housing market situations from getting worse. And you know, all it takes is a little imagination. This being a charter city, there is a lot that they could do to make improvements and make it very fast and generate tax revenue. I mentioned this years ago when I helped get the 2 dispensaries in that are currently existing. And basically, they never took the cannabis tourism and ran with it. And I'll tell you another thing. If they were smart, which, you know, at least we got 2.5 council people who are smart, the mayor, Gillicrest, and Dominic. And then you got 2 people who want to get reelected because, well, they made a lot of enemies, and if they don't keep that power, they're screwed. You know, and maybe they're not so bad, but they've definitely looked at us like numbers, and they bought into the oligarchy bullshit, and it's lost them a lot of favor. One's already a bankrupt business owner when he ran for city council, and one is, you know, got a lot of his other customers at other establishments. So I feel bad for them in one way. But when you forget who you are and where you came from, that's what you get. And with the amount of intellect and I guess you would say desperation, the idea would be to get them to approve these things. You're generating tax dollars, you're generating tourism, and you're making housing available, you know, to people who need it. I mean, even if it's a small room, that could still go to seniors who can't afford another place to live. Now, I don't know if we want to invoke some kind of rent control to keep the seniors from going homeless. I hear the Life Center is dealing with a lot of seniors getting displaced from their current places they live because basically, you know, they can't afford the rent increases. So they kick them out, say they're going to do major renovations. Sometimes they do, sometimes it's bullshit. And then the seniors end up homeless. Right there, this building here is the back of that hotel. And I don't know if they have a freight elevator or how that works. But, you know, waive the ADA stuff until they get everything else fixed up inside. You got to work with people. Most of our businesses that start here, that end up lasting, end up going over to Yuba City after about 6 months, because the city wants to hit them for everything up front instead of make money over time. And it's because of all the homeless and all the idiots basically we've had in office before, well, still, and really bad before recently. You know, they've destroyed this community, ladies and gentlemen. And they don't think, well, you know, if we hit these businesses for everything, at first, we're at least going to make some money, because normally they, you know, fail because of poor leadership, making it difficult for any business to survive. Who wants to go into a business that the front of it smells like bum piss and, you know, maybe you find some dookie on the front door when you go in as the shop owner in the morning? Who wants to deal with all of this? Another mistake by Chris Sachs and former police leadership. They were harassing the homeless so bad before that they ended up in a lawsuit that would end up setting precedents for the homeless laws to be put in check by the California Supreme Court. So, you know, this is an idea. Now that I've started mentioning my plan for the homeless, you know, I'll probably make an announcement and tell you how that'll work soon in a video. But that's how you start fixing stuff around here, folks. I mean, it's pretty simple. Instead of using the Charter Amendment in some scam to take, from what I can see, Chris Sachs going after chief/code enforcement, double dipping, corrupt cop, corrupt code enforcement, rich spoiled little boy, bitch boy. He's basically, for some reason, targeting people with mixed-use business license, like Verna and a few other. There's 6 of them. And I'm going to tell you right now, right down this street, there's a greenhouse across from the courthouse there. It says Carol Pfeiffer on the door. If you're being targeted by these cops, or you're one of these people who've made accusations of, and really bad allegations against Sheriff Anderson or Chris Sachs, you ladies, go talk to Carol Pfeiffer. I also think the churches around here, especially like Glad Tidings, the Presbyterian Church over in Yuba City, and some of the other ones you've seen me post online, like the Methodist and even the Hillside community up in Brownsville. You know, you can get some counseling from the pastors, and maybe they might have other resources that this fighting monk, redneck minister, ordained minister doesn't have available to them. But just look at all these buildings with the upstairs that could be converted into loft living and help this homeless crisis. You know, it's pretty crazy. We'll make a video about the State Theater later, but that's one owned by foreigners that nothing's getting done, and they could easily take it with eminent domain. Why not run a burlesque show 2 weekends out of the month and use that stuff for other community things or smaller venues that are not maybe as racy? That seems like something that might be able to bring business and tourism to town. All right, folks, me and the dog are tired. Her tongue's out and I'm winded. So peace out. Love you all. God bless. And keep fighting the good fight against these tyrant son of a bitches. Have a good day.